So I don't expect that to change. I don't expect Florida to win next week. I expect what we saw today and what Florida did against South Carolina, a team that comes out flat. 4 o'clock kick, so it's not noon. So they won't just be waking up. But uh, I don't see how Florida beats Missouri and Florida State. Good Lord, I know a lot of fans have joked the last 10 years about the game being on Nickelodeon or Cartoon Network and how bad the two teams are. Um, it's certainly up there with you know I, Florida will, if they lose next week, they'll be playing for a bowl. FSU is 3-6, so they need to win out. They need to beat Miami. FSU's up on Miami 17-0. If you care to watch that, or care what the score is. So FSU has Boston College next week and then Florida. So if Florida State is able to hold on for a win today and then beat Boston College next week, both teams will be playing for a bowl pretty much. As as crazy as that sounds, I mean, I don't know. I think Florida just needs to get rid of their staff and at the end of the season and regroup because again, Florida has that brand new football only facility coming in the spring or early summer, one of the two. So you don't. And Terry Norvell mentioned this on the show last week, and it's archived if you guys want to see it on the Florida Gator and the SEC channel at the Voice of College Football. Make sure we're subscribing and seeing all of the other channels with Georgia, the SEC later today, and Mark Rogers always hosting a show on Saturday night. But you have the football only facility starting. It's going to be opened up. I think it's pretty much finished. Starting the beginning of next year. And you don't want to be part of a program where you kind of know that, if you're the administration, that you're going to let go of Dan Mullen if you're going to give him 1 year, because then it's just 1 year sets you back 3 years. And Terry mentioned this on College Sports Today. You catch his Facebook show. If you know you're going to let go of a guy and you know that guy is not the guy, and I think Florida fans will mostly agree that Dan Mullen is not going to be the guy. Dan Mullen is not going to be a person that is going to take you consistently to the SEC and get you in playoff picture, get you in playoff berths. Why still have him? His buyout's $12 million. Figure out a way to deal with that. Whether if you want to pay him all up front or give him lump sum, do whatever. July 1st, give him $2 million every year for the next 6 years or whatever. Let the boosters and the administration deal with that. But, this is the time where Florida has to keep the ball rolling, specifically with recruiting, because you get that football only facility, something that should have been done years ago. And Florida is just now up to par with Alabama and just now up to par with Georgia and all the good teams when it comes to facilities. And it all goes back to recruiting. I call high school football games in Jacksonville, and I was talking with a coach, and his son was he graduated in 2018 in high school, obviously pre-COVID, and he went through a lot of junior days with Georgia and Alabama and so on and so forth. And the coach was always a Florida fan growing up, and he said, seeing what Florida's facilities were like, and then seeing every other school, specifically in the SEC. It's a lot different. And, players, when they're 17, 18 years old, they care about what's cool. Having, all of the, he was mentioning like Alabama, every plastic cup had a national championship logo on it. When you're riding around Georgia on their shuttle bus, they have, it's like there's like a video, it's like an aerial. It's like a 360, Georgia, when they beat Oklahoma and they're going to play Alabama in the national title game, things like that. Florida's lagged behind, and the coach was telling me, he would get fired up listening to the band and running out of the tunnel, and kids just don't care about that, not as much as they did before. And it's one of those things where you have to keep up with the Joneses because, well, if Alabama, Georgia, Ole Miss, and everybody else is doing it, you kind of have to play and tag along with them, or else you're gonna be left behind. I use the iPhone analogy. You can keep using iPhones and you keep using an iPhone 3, but everybody else using the iPhone 12 and they're getting better internet and better service. You take your pick, what you want. Driver Lane drops a comment. Thank you guys for keep dropping these comments. As he said, Jeremy Foley said it best. What must be done eventually must be done immediately. Yeah, and that goes pretty much to what Terry was saying. I saw that, and I think it was a Nick Delatorre article that was written earlier this week. He's exactly right. I mean, why wait when you know he's not the guy? Why wait when you know that you're going to let him go eventually? Pay him whatever he needs, give him his buyout, $12 million, and let him walk, so that you can start fresh, start the staff. Because also you have to consider this right now. Think about all the teams right now that are looking for a head coach: USC, LSU, and also TCU. TCU's not in that same caliber, but I'm just talking about Power 5 schools right now that are looking for coaches. And if you're the administration, you have to know right after that Florida State game if you're going to keep them or if you're going to let them go, or if you're going to keep the staff or let the staff go. Because, well, if you wait 2 weeks, number one, signing day is mid-December. So you obviously have to have coaches on staff to go out and recruit. And you got to get the best guy available. And my opinion, I think Florida's job is better than LSU. LSU, you're in the SEC West. You're playing in the toughest division. You're playing in the SEC. Florida's program to me is not as broken as it is for LSU. LSU has a lot of issues off the field. Florida's issues are mostly on the field, and it goes to recruiting. And speaking of recruiting, I looked at it today. The 2022 class, if you look in-state, the top 50 guys, Florida has 4 of them. 4 of the top 50 guys in the state of Florida and 24/7's top 50, regardless of position, only 4 guys are committed to Florida. And that's why Clay Helton got let go of USC, one of the reasons. Yes, it had to do with his performance. Yes, it had to do with, the team losing and other factors. But he didn't recruit his own state. If you look at the state of California, Oklahoma's quarterback, I think they have one from California. I know Clemson does, DJU. Alabama, Bryce Young's from California. Ohio State's quarterback is from California. Look at who's the best schools in college football in the last 5 years. It's been Clemson. It's been Alabama. It's been Ohio State. So, I mean, and if you look at Florida, Emory Jones is from Georgia. Anthony Richardson's in Florida's backyard in Gainesville. But so many guys are leaving and jumping ship when that's you. That should be you. And on top of that, at a time right now when Florida State and Miami are so down, and you don't even have to worry about them in recruiting, or at least you shouldn't. And we're here now, and I mean, Miami has a better recruiting class right now than Florida. I think Miami last I saw was 11th in the 2022 class. As Tom drops a comment, embarrassing Gator win against Furman. Mullen has no fire or desire. The Gator football team is soft and has no quit on them. It has quit on them. We owe Mullen $12 million, time for AD to pull the plug on Mullen. Yeah, it kind of goes back to what Driver Lane said. What must be done eventually must be done immediately. I don't know if Dan Mullen will be let go if you're just now joining us. If it were up to me, I would. And I heard a lot of people throughout the week speaking of, well, let's see how the last 3 games are. If it's 2-1, you lose to Florida State, you let him go. But if you're 3-0, you keep him. You can't go by that. I mean, we're talking about an FCS school, a Florida State team that's probably one of the worst teams it's had since 1976, and a Missouri team. Let me look at Missouri's schedule. I know they're not good, but Missouri's 4-5, and they lead South Carolina right now 14-7. So I don't agree with, let's see how Florida plays the last 3 games and and make a decision off that, because I've heard that a lot in radio. I don't agree with that 100%. You knew Scott Strickland and the administration should have known after the South Carolina game if you want to keep Dan Mullen's staff or do you not. And that decision should be made after the Florida State game, in my opinion. So, and yeah, his players don't want to play for him, and that's something that hasn't happened since Jim McElwain. We saw that game, the Georgia game where he pretty much told the team that he was leaving, and then you saw that performance. But I mean, if you go back to guys like Will Muschamp, you can say what you want about his coaching, but those guys never quit on him whatsoever. Yes, they had a 4-win season, but those teams, what happened against South Carolina last week, that would have never happened under Will Muschamp. And the same thing with Urban Meyer until the very end when he lost the locker room. And I think Dan Mullen's lost the locker room. I don't think these guys, for whatever reason, care for Dan Mullen at this point. It's year 4, and things like this shouldn't be happening. When you're going to New Year's Six Bowls year after year in your first 3 years, and you're taking over a poor coaching staff that happened before you with Jim McElwain, and then now it's time for all those guys that have left, and now these are your guys. This is your recruiting class. These are guys that you brought in. That's an issue. And you have to ask yourself, if you're the AD for Florida, Scott Strickland, and the administration, is this the guy? If the answer is no, let him walk. If the answer is yes, okay, then we move. I don't think Dan Mullen's the guy. I don't see Dan Mullen competing with Georgia in the SEC East, competing for SEC titles with Alabama, because he said he's going to coach for another 10 years. So I'll take his word at that. And then can he get in the playoff? Well, you can't get in the playoff unless you're competing with Georgia and Alabama in the SEC. And it's like Jeremy Foley said, what must be done eventually must be done immediately. That's my 2 cents. Defensively, yeah, they gave up 42 points today. I know a lot of people say this is embarrassing win, even though Florida looked like they were going to lose. They were 35-point favorites coming into today. Obviously, they didn't get that spread, although they made it close at 18 from what the score was. Florida was down 1 point, 42-28. Emory Jones had his best game, went 28 for 34, as he almost broke the single-game passing record, as he finished with one moment. He finished with 460 yards through the air and 86 on the ground. So it's pretty clear Dan Mullen's guy is Emory Jones. Anthony Richardson was cleared to play throughout the week because he hurt his knee in the hotel room Friday before the South Carolina game. And he was cleared to play through the middle of the week, and I guess Dan Mullen just rolls with Emory Jones.